Hi guys, welcome to Unclipped. I am your host Imani Brown, aka the Princess, and I'm so happy that you're here. Another week. Fair warning, my blinks might be very long in this episode. If you're watching this and you're seeing me right now, I'm very exhausted. I'm on the tail end of a crazy weekend, not like crazy party weekend, crazy party on a bike weekend. Seriously though, I taught 8 classes in the past 3 days and it was just insane. Like insane in the best way, because normally, in a 5-day period, I will teach 4 classes. So in a 3-day period, 8 classes is a little crazy for me, but I thoroughly enjoyed making all those playlists and programming all those rides. It was a very fulfilling weekend. So although I am physically exhausted, my cup and my heart are both very full. I got to spend some extra time with some extra special people that I already know, and I got to meet a ton of very special new people. So being physically exhausted is totally worth it for the weekend that I had. This sort of segues into what we're talking about today, passion versus popularity. And I sort of feel like when you follow your passion, like I feel like I do, when I'm teaching, when I'm instructing on the bike, some things that may be a little bit more grueling, like actually riding the stationary bike, are worth it when you feel like you're really leaning into your purpose and fulfilling your calling. So yeah, I am tired but happy. We're just gonna go right into our topic here. I saw this post on Instagram. Actually, one of my very good friends posted it, where she spoke about purpose versus popularity. And like as soon as she posted it, I reposted it on my story, and I'm like, this is the post, because I have a difficult time identifying like my feelings and emotions, especially when they're kind of complex and involve a bunch of different life factors. And then when I like scroll online and see somebody has perfectly summed up what I'm thinking, it's nice and refreshing, because it makes me feel like I'm not alone, and then I actually have words for the emotions that I am feeling. So with this topic of passion versus popularity, I do want to talk about it under the lens of social media, because I think social media breeds and cultivates a culture of like needing to seek out popularity. While I think it is ingrained in us naturally to want to be popular, as we get older, at least for me, the need and want to be popular in like real life kind of goes away a little bit. Oh my God, I'm getting a little excited. But yeah, it dissipates a bit. But I think with the rise of social media, especially my generation, it's sort of been brought back tenfold. And we like when people like our things. Like these social media platforms have all these metrics and analytics, our likes, our follows, how many people saved our things, how many people came to our profile from viewing like our post on the explore page. I'm just kind of using Instagram as a rough example, because I think that most people are familiar with that app. But yeah, I think social media has really given a rise to people needing to be popular. And with that, I think that even if we start our social media pages out with the goal of being authentic, with the goal of getting the word out about something, or pursuing our passion or following our purpose, even if we start out with organic, raw content that are things that we would want to see, content that we like to share, undoubtedly we start to doubt ourselves and the quality of our content and the sort of how interesting we are when we might not be getting the numbers that we thought we would get from this content. And so, like, say, you're used to posting a certain kind of content on social media, and then it gets like a decent amount of attention, but it really serves your purpose. Like, it is you posting this content is you living in your truth, and you sort of showing that truth in the most authentic way that you can. But say you decide to mix it up one day and post a different type of content, and that just gets like I don't want to curse. I'm going to try not to curse on here, guys. I want to make this family friendly. So I was going to curse, but now I'm not. A crap ton of leads or traffic towards your profile. Say that new type of content does that. I think the human brain is programmed to be like, oh, maybe that's the content I want to start posting. Or say we see a creator that is in our niche as well. And I think this goes for those of us who want to monetize our content, as well as people who don't necessarily want to monetize their content, but still feel like they have a purpose on the internet and it's not just a post. I think that with my generation, well, I don't want to say my generation because I'm like a cusper. I was born in 1996, so I'm like right at the cusp of a millennial and Gen Z. But so I think that people in my age group, even if we don't want to monetize our social media, we do have a strong sense of purpose and a strong awareness that our content reaches people, whether it be a small group or not, that our content has impact. So yeah, say we see somebody in our niche of content and they're garnering a ton of attention, posting a particular type of content, but it's not really our style, and we don't think it's the most effective way to spread our message. And I also want to say, like, this doesn't have to be anything super deep, but I think most of us all have like a message that we sort of want to get out, whether you think your outfit's cute or something else. There's always a message behind what we're posting. So say someone's in our niche and they're posting stuff and getting really good feedback. We might be inclined to be like, hey, I think that in order to get the feedback that I want, I'm going to start posting content like that, purely because it is getting the numbers, not because it's content that I particularly enjoy or I enjoy creating. It is only to seek out that popularity. And so in an effort to seek out popularity, I think we tend to lose parts of ourselves, and I think we sacrifice our individuality and our purpose a little bit or a lot, just seeking these quantifiable results. So say you do all the things, you play your cards right, you study the algorithm, you, figure out what methods these creators are using and trending topics, and you get the attention, you get the popularity you wanted. What's next? You have to figure out what's next because you have to sustain this popularity. Getting the attention of people isn't all of it. It's actually only a small part of it because you have to keep the attention to keep the popularity. You now have to be really strategic about continually giving people what they came for. So if you gave them something that wasn't you, you have to continue to give them that not you. You have to continue to sacrifice your integrity to keep people on your page or ingesting your content. What I'm saying is this situation is unsustainable. Either the mask is going to slip and people are going to actually see the real you because you can't keep up with the facade, and they're going to leave because they didn't come to actually see you. They came to see the facade that you put up, or you're just going to plain burn out and just not want to produce anything anymore. And like I said, I'm talking about in terms of a intangible consumable, I guess, if that makes any sense. You're gonna either the mask is gonna slip and people aren't gonna like the authentic you, or you're just gonna not give anything, gonna be giving nothing. And either way, it's not a sustainable situation. And then once we can't sustain this sort of expertly crafted colony of people, we're left with nothing, right? We sacrificed our integrity. So we don't have that anymore. We don't have ourselves anymore. And we also don't have the people that we thought were there for us. We falsely thought were there for us because they weren't actually there for us. And so with that, I also want to say that I think it's okay to want your message to be heard by as many people as possible. I think it's okay to think that your purpose is to positively impact as many people as possible. But I think that the path has to be towards purpose, and the path can't be towards popularity. The end goal can't be something quantitative. It has to be something qualitative, or else it's not going to work. When we seek quantitative validation, undoubtedly the quality of our work and the clearness, the clarity of our message is sacrificed, and it's no longer the focus. When our end goal is a quantity, then we're not focusing on the quality anymore. And then we produce content or a product that isn't necessarily representative of the quality that we're capable of producing, or that is like aligned with our purpose. And to me, this is sort of apparent when we look at the social media platforms of some, like, I'm not going to say like big creators, because I think big creators are like people with hundreds of thousands or like millions of followers, but like mid-sized creators, like a more attainable goal. Look, I'm not throwing shade, guys, but there's so many mid-sized creators whose content is quite literally mid. Like, okay, so my area of expertise, an area that I'm fairly confident in is fashion, right? And every single time I PTSO, every time, no ifs, ands, or buts. But when I go on Instagram and I see that I have like 1,200 followers on my main Instagram, and then this girl, and I'm not talking about any girl in particular, I'm making a girl up, but this girl who has on a maxi dress from Altered State and a pair of gladiator sandals from Francesca's from Fayette Mall, it's got like 12,000 followers, and everybody's in her comments like, girl, you ate that. Look, and she in fact did not eat. The plate is full. I'm gonna feel a little bit insecure about myself, right? And for a second, for just one little second, because not for longer than that, I'm gonna sort of start to question whether or not I need to adjust what I'm posting to garner that same popularity. But like I said, I'm confident that I PTSO every time, so I'm not going to sacrifice the message I'm trying to get out to gain that popularity. I'm not willing to do that ever. I'm not willing to be mid to get some followers, guys. But yeah, I think it's apparent that sometimes quality or individuality suffers when we go for the numbers. When we look at those sort of mid-level creators that we can identify with. And I think here really presents the limbo between purpose and popularity. Another situation I think of, it comes to the forefront of my head really when I think about this, is my journey as an indoor cycling instructor. So most of the group of people that teach at my studio, most of us started out together, and we were all onboarded at the opening of our studio. So we were there since the beginning. Like, our studio was brand new when we became instructors. I mean, we didn't have doors on the theater when we taught our first class. But it was brand new when we started out. And so for me, I feel like this topic kind of plays a huge role in my everyday life for the past year, because you want to fill the room. You want to have as many butts in those seats as possible. But I feel like I have a greater purpose on that bike, right? Like what was provided to me when I was just a rider is something that I would like to provide to my riders. And so I have a clear goal. Like my goal is to change lives. It is to make people feel better about themselves. It is to empower people. It is to create a community. It is all of those things and more. Those are my goals. I don't have quantitative goals necessarily, not when I set out to do this, but it can be difficult when you have these goals and you want to affect as many lives as possible in a positive way, but the numbers aren't there. I think that being at a studio when it's opening and becoming an instructor while a studio is opening presents a very unique challenge that I don't think instructors who are onboarded to already established studios have. And I'm not saying that there aren't challenges that those instructors face. I'm saying that they don't face this challenge, right? The challenge that I'm just going to speak for myself. I don't want to speak for other people, but the challenge that I have felt and continue to feel is like I have been still trying to get my footing as an instructor. All the while I'm trying to help my studio bring people in because we didn't have a client base. I mean, we started from zero. Whereas I feel like instructors who were onboarded to already established studios kind of had some sort of group that was probably just there and happened there because they were members and then started to, like their classes or whatever. But we didn't have that at my studio. We had to get it out the mud. And so I've struggled with that. I'm like, well, I feel my purpose is here, and I feel a strong sense of purpose on that podium and on that mic. But it's really discouraging when you're averaging like 7 people per class per week. It's discouraging when you've got a class with 2 people in it and you worked extremely hard on that playlist. You worked tirelessly. I can't talk. You've worked tirelessly on your programming, and you remember that one of your riders is just graduated from nursing school and the other one's cat died, and you're doing all this. Like when you put your heart into a job like that, it requires all of you. And I don't have a problem with that, but what I'm saying is it's sometimes discouraging, and you get that tug between purpose and popularity when you're faced with situations like that, when you put your heart and soul into something and you feel like the numbers aren't there, right? But when I really feel like I lose my footing and I get lost in my thoughts and I overthink, I'm grounded by my sense of why. I'm grounded by my purpose. I'm grounded by what I feel like is my calling. Because even if there's only 2 people in that room, if one person comes out of that room getting a new sense of clarity or discovering something they didn't know that they had in them, and I help them to do that, then that is me fulfilling my purpose. Because there could be a completely full room in theory, and it could be giving nothing. I know that my fellow fitness instructors understand that energy in the room is like, it circulates in the room. When you close those doors, the energy is just being recycled back and forth. And so say I do something to bring the numbers in, right? I do something out of my element. I try to do things out of my comfort zone, but like, I'm just totally participating out of my element and I'm being somebody I'm not. I'm taking from this person's personality or what I see this person do just to try to get the numbers. Say that happens. I do that. And I've got a full room, but my heart's not in it. And my heart is not in the program I'm doing. I just thought it looked cool and people liked it when this person did it. So I'm going to do it. The room's going to feel that. The energy is just being recycled over and over. The room's going to feel it. They're not going to be in it fully because you're not in it fully. And it's not going to be a fun experience. So again, like I said, I would be sacrificing my purpose and sacrificing my calling and my sense of why if my goal was purely the numbers. And I want to say, like, for me, this year has been an incredibly long, but like I said, fulfilling road. And although I have struggled with the numbers in my class, and I want to be completely vulnerable, because I think it's hard as fitness instructors to see these people with these full rooms, where everybody just looks so perfect, and then you go to your room and it's got a third of the people. But my goal here, like I said in the beginning, the first episode of this podcast, is to be vulnerable, let people know they're not alone, and let us work through this together, because I know that there are people feeling this right now, whether you're a fitness instructor or you do something else that sort of requires you to be aware of popularity. I hope that you know that when your calling is higher, it might take you a little bit longer to get there. So it might be a little bit of a grueling process. It might be tough to get through in terms of like you feeling like maybe you need to turn around and do something else. But if you are truly going towards your calling, I think that it'll pay off in the end. I don't think any amount of mimicking someone else or doing something that is not in alignment with you is going to align you with your purpose. It's never going to perfectly line up with your purpose if it's not you and your heart is not in it. And when I thought of today's topic, and I thought of sort of like alignment with our purpose, I thought of bowling, right? So like there's a perfect set of circumstances to get a strike. I almost like messed up. I'm like, what the stop. Oh my God. I'm going to bleep that out because I'm trying not to curse. It's family friendly, girl. There's a perfect set of circumstances for you to get that strike. Like the air humidity has to be at a certain percentage, and like the angle of your foot with the groove on the floor has to be perfect, and the bend in your wrist. But for you, there's a perfect set of circumstances that's going to get you the strike. But no amount of studying the person in the lane next to you is going to get you your strike. They could have gotten a strike every single time, and you could do every single thing that they do, but that is not your perfect set of circumstances. You're not going towards your strike. You're trying to get towards theirs, and you're seeing them get that strike, and you're mistaking it for the universal set of circumstances when that's not the case. Their purpose and their lane is theirs. Stay in yours and stay aligned with your purpose. So you've got to just like put your blinders on, set your goal at those pins, aim and roll that ball. And I think eventually that true sustainable popularity will be a byproduct of us just continually going towards our purpose. And like I said before, I think that there's a distinction between going for pure popularity, like as your end goal, and trying to affect as many lives as possible. I think that when we go on the road of trying to affect as many lives as possible, so we go on the straight road, it sort of forks. It forks into two branches. In that first branch, they look alike from where we're standing, but that first branch is popularity, and it's a short road, but it leads us straight off a cliff. And that second branch is purpose. And so if we keep going, we can collect more people along the way, and we keep following that very long road. Like I said, the popularity will be a byproduct of us moving towards that purpose, and not just seeking out the popularity. It can't be the end goal. And I think if your end goal is solely numerical, if it's solely quantitative, if it's solely some sort of metric, that you're not using passion to drive you, it's pure ego. And I think it's a difficult thing for all of us to suppress our ego, especially, like I said, in things like social media, and also in things like group fitness, where we're wearing a microphone, we're on a stage, right? The light is on us. That is such a difficult situation to suppress your ego in, but we must remember that it's work, it's intentional, and it's hard work to suppress our ego. But it's worth it, because when our ego is in the forefront, our true self is only playing a supporting role, and we don't allow our authentic self to show, and we don't allow our purpose to be felt. We don't allow ourselves to get to our calling if our true self is only playing a supporting role. And when our ego is at the forefront, we should maybe examine why that is. What insecurities do we have that we are defaulting to our ego rather than our true self? And And if our ego is the default, if we are solely going towards these numerical and quantitative values to make us feel better about ourselves, to tell us our worth, to define our purpose, then we're operating from a deeply wounded sense of self. And I think that's a really dark place. In short, I don't think that there's ever a way that we can be true to ourselves and make the impact that we would like to make, or the impact that we are capable of making, if our sense of self or our validation comes from external numerical factors. So in turn, like I said, we all need to be intentional about doing work, especially when our surrounding factors make it increasingly more difficult to operate on just passion alone. I think the way that we're going with as much technology as we have, and as much sort of like faking as we can do, especially online, it makes it really hard to just be your true self. It makes it a really lonely road sometimes to be your true self. If we want to live our purpose, if we want to truly align with that calling, we're going to have to do some work. And we're going to have to try and remove the ego, or at least let it be the supporting role most of the time, and let our true self shine through regardless of the numbers. We've got to put our blinders on, ignoring what people are doing in their lanes, and focusing on the set of circumstances in our lane, in our path, that get us that strike. And eventually, once we really align with that purpose, and that ego is gone and our true self is there, we'll be confident enough in ourselves that the initial numbers won't matter. And people will see that. People will feel the energy. They'll see the vulnerability. They'll see the authenticity, and they'll come your way. And I'm still on that journey, and I'm sure there's people on that journey with me. But while I think the journey towards purpose is a longer road, I think it's longer because it's more sustainable. When we operate according to our purpose, that is something that we can do for a lifetime. But when we operate with the goal of popularity, that is short-lived. And to me, it's ultimately the more difficult road because it ends in such tragedy. You leave with a very bruised sense of self and a bruised ego, and you've got to rebuild the pieces and refigure out your why and try again. But while the road towards purpose and calling might be a little bumpy, be a little long, it's the ultimate life road. And your popularity will come once you continue to live true to yourself and true to your purpose. So I think I'm going to wrap up there. I hope you all enjoyed. I would love some feedback on this episode. I hope you like, comment, and share. And maybe comment like what you'd like to see out of next week's episode. I hope you all have a great week, day, month, hour, year. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.